Hi guys, Brain here with a new video today, and today we're going to be diving into the 4v1 asymmetrical horror, the new competition to Dead by Daylight, even though they're basically not the same at all, and really are almost impossible to compare because it functions so differently. Hellbent Games' VHS. I did a community tab poll to try and ask if you guys wanted to see more videos about this, so this is going to be the first of our big VHS videos. As you guys requested, you guys said that was something that you did want to see, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So today I wanted to focus on the role of monster, because when I first started playing the game, I was getting absolutely destroyed when I was playing monster, and that's mostly because these games are so different despite being in the same genre. Like they really don't have too much in common despite being in the same genre. And the games that I had were really rough. I was basically losing every single match. And there's a lot that I know now that I didn't know that first week I was playing. And there's rumors going around that there won't be very many keys left. That's just the rumor mill, but that means that early access is probably coming soon. And I want you to be prepared to play monster in VHS once that early access comes, and not to suffer the same mistakes that I did when I was first playing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the 10 things I wish I knew when I started playing monster. Number 1, the game has a very hard skill curve. Do you remember when you were first playing Killer in DBD, some matches were basically a doormat for survivors? They teabagged, they clicked, the whole deal. But other times the survivors were just as clueless as you, and you got to stomp them and get some kills. That's by and large not really a thing in VHS. There's a very high skill curve, and you have to get good at this game and stay good at this game if you want consistent results. It's not really a game you can pick up, and sometimes your matches are good and sometimes your matches are bad. Unless you have that shred of knowledge and game sense, you're gonna be facing a lot of losses. But that's okay. This game is more difficult than other 4v1 asymmetric horror games. It just is. And once you accept that those feelings of getting thrashed and destroyed aren't gonna feel as bad, because it's just a harder game. It's just a harder game, and that's totally okay. So once you're gonna start off with a lot of losses probably, and that's perfectly fine. The game's just kind of harder to learn, and that's okay. All right, number 2, roles reverse often. When you play DBD, you're probably used to the idea of Killer mostly, okay, here we go, mostly being in the power role. I know a lot of people who play Killer and are kind of obsessed with Killer don't really seem to think that they're in the power role. And usually that's because, you fought a powerful 4-man, they're on Swift, they're on comms, and it made you feel otherwise. But realistically, most of the time you're in the power role. Survivors can't hurt you, they can only really outlast you. If they're saucing on you, they're juicing you, they're really just avoiding you, right? They're just holding W, they're dropping pallets. They can't hurt you, they can't take you out of the game, but VHS is very different. VHS is very different. Since there's no in-between objective, the team's only objective is to kill you. There's no generators, there's no anything like that. Their only objective is to kill you, to kill the monster. And they do this by forging a weapon that does one of 4 sigils, so 4 different damage types. And after they do those 4 damage types, you are vanquished, you are defeated. It's also important to note that once a damage type is already done, it just becomes a stun weapon. So even then, doing a sigil that's already been done in the match is still helpful. For this reason, once teams start getting weapons, you'll often find that you are the one being hunted in this situation. And I think a lot of people, and me included when I first started playing, is I think, oh, well, I'm monster, so I'm the power role. I'm the killer in this situation. And you'll just get blasted, lose one of your sigils, and you'll get real mad, and you'll think well, I'm the monster, why can they just defeat me? Because there's no in-between. There's no gens, there's no anything like that. So essentially, you, in a weird sense, you become the survivor for a short period of time, especially when there's multiple teams with multiple weapons. That's usually the scenarios where this happens, where multiple teams have multiple weapons, and you're in just a situation where you're going to get ganged up on, and then you really do have to play safe. You have to play patient, you have to play safe, and then you'll have your moment in the sun. But if you just rush it, if you say, I'm the power role, and you go in there, no. You have essentially switched to the role of survivor. You got to be careful when there's teams with multiple weapons running around coordinating an attack on you. You just have to. Number 3, be careful about ambushes. Like we mentioned in the last point, teams must craft weapons of all 4 sigils and kill you with them to win the match. What I mean by extra, kill you is that you have to respawn every single time, but you don't die. You don't lose the match. You don't lose the match until until all 4 are done. So you die, but you just immediately respawn in like 15 seconds. You don't die until all 4 different damage types are done. So this is quite literally the only role they have in the game. So they're going to be hyper focused on it and stop at nothing to have that obtained. It's not like DBD where there's in between objectives. This is it. If you were one of those people that like you played COD back in the day and you hated corner camping and those guys excelled at like holding down one side of the objective and it was still really effective, but it was like really frustrating and annoyed you, you're not gonna like this one. One of the most common ways that teens get their kills with a sigil weapon is just by hiding around a corner and just by sitting around the other edge of the corner, just sitting around the edge. I would tell you to listen to sound cues, but that's not really a thing too much. Teens are very quiet or outright just inaudible if they're uninjured and they're just standing still behind like a pillar or a wall. They're just basically like there's no way you could have told they were there without game sense. So you just got to play a lot to understand when this is happening. Is an injured teen running towards an open area? Because open areas are, you're more vulnerable as the monster. Do you have any idea where the other teens are? Every monster has an info ability, a ability they come with, which helps seek out where the teens are. Did you have a good idea of where those are? Always expect a trap. Basically just always accept a trap when things seem like they're going too well, because ambushes are so powerful for the teen side that 9 times out of 10 I can guarantee they're going for at least one a match, if not multiple. You gotta be prepared for ambushes. Number 4, check your corners and hug walls and obstacles. Like we mentioned in the last point, ambushes are one of the most powerful plays that teens can get their sigil kills from. However, even a single teen popping out of nowhere, you don't have time to get up your power that you use as defensive power. All monsters have some sort of way to counter a teen's weapon if they just charge right at you. Some teleport, some have armor, some have an audible that literally just disables the ability to use weapons for a short time. But essentially, they all have something to deal with it. But if a teen pops around a corner immediately, you don't have time to charge that up. So they're going to start doing that sustained damage to you, and that's going to block you from using your ability. So even a teen 1v1 can really mess you up if you're not paying attention. For this reason, you should always be hugging objects as closely as you can when you're moving around the map. Whenever you're in junctures or open areas, always check the area before making any sort of rash movement. You'll never know when you're right in the middle of the trap and somebody's hiding right around that other corner trying to go for their ambush. Teen weapons don't automatically kill you most of the time. Most weapons in the game, you need several hits. You need several hits to actually kill you to do one of the sigil states. So being able to slink around a corner or an obstacle you were hugging, like a pole or a pillar or something, you can break that sustained damage. So they can get 1 or 2 hits in, but if you slink around that corner real quick, as you were paying attention, you weren't just charging around the corner as fast as possible, you just immediately slide back around that corner, you break their sustained damage, and you can get away. But you only were able to do that because you were checking your corners, making sure you weren't running out in the middle of the open. You were hugging your walls, you were hugging your obstacles, and because of that, you will live better than I did the first week I played. Number 5, this one's probably not going to be too popular amongst DBD fans, but always play like you're against a comms team. So VHS has this robust in-game comm system. So even if they're not using the in-game comm system, they have a ping system that are constantly feeding info between the teams throughout the entire match. Even a player that decides to completely ignore the comms and the pings, which does happen, and it's pretty annoying. These people can be used as bait on the players who are actually, utilizing the tools, utilizing the comms, utilizing the pings. They can use that player who's not paying attention as bait to, plan traps and that sort of thing. So in essence, you should treat every single match like the team has good coordination because, by and large, they do. Because they have literally tools inside the game at their disposal to have that good coordination. So for the most part, teams are going to be well organized. So don't go into matches expecting to be like, oh, well, maybe they won't make that good play. Maybe they're not talking to each other, so maybe they're not going to make this play. You should always expect that they're going for that play because the tools are literally right at their fingertips to make those sort of plays. 6, don't often push without your power. Monsters start with 3 powers at the disposal. We've kind of talked at length about these in the other parts. This usually consists of an attack power, or attack focused power, a defense focused power, and or reading or info perk power. So your defensive power is not optional. and you really got to use it when you're deciding you're going to go after teens. Before engaging a teen, you should always have your defensive power up, especially teens with weapons. You may be able to get away with somebody who, is just the beginning of the game. No other teens have weapons. They're working on a table. You don't need to throw up your defensive power against them. But by and large, you should be armoring up, howling to disable their weapons, etc. before you engage with a teen. Because pushing teens without your defensive power will often lead to teens catching you with their weapons and winning the encounter. Because, like I said in the last one, they're always in comms, they're always trying to lead you into a trap. And if you don't have your defense mechanism up, which is like the way you buy time and safety to actually get hits, to get downs, they're just going to chew right through you. But if you throw up your armor or you howl to disable their weapons, they have no choice but to deal with you. They have no other option, even if it's only for a short time. These are always very, very short time limits, but you essentially buy yourself time and safety to actually get hits and downs. So when you're charging teens, especially multiple, make sure you're using your defensive power to buy you that extra time and safety. Number 7, there's no time limit on purpose. I can't tell you how many games I threw in the first week that I played this game because I get really, really impatient. I just charged corners without looking, and the fact of the matter is, unlike DBD, there's no endgame collapse. There's no like mechanic to make the game go quicker, so you don't have to put yourself out there. Like, if you know that the flow of the match, the current flow of the match, is not going a way that is beneficial for you, take your time, play defensively. Bait them, make them waste their weapons. No matter how much time it takes, the game doesn't care. You're always going to have more time. There's currently no mechanics to cut the match short. There's no harm in foul in waiting for a more advantageous position. There's just nothing wrong with it. Besides like your own irritation and your own emotions, like you have all the time in the world to wait out this bad patch in the match, this rough spot, and start playing more when there's a more advantageous situation. There's just no reason. Number 8, camping kind of doesn't actually work, which is going to be a weird one if you're going to be coming over from DBD Killer, because proxy camping is almost, always worked in your favor. It's always trying to get an extra hook state out of someone for free while it's possibly getting hits or even downs for people who come to save them. But in VHS, there's no hook states. There's nothing like that. Teens start with a health pool, and by getting hits and downs, their health pool progressively goes down. So there's no like hooks or hook states or anything. So unless you're a very, very good doll master, which is very, very hard to do, camping most likely isn't going to work out in your favor, because the teen's whole objective is to hunt you back with weapons. Staying in one place for too long, whether the teen is slugged or not, will often lead to the team just doing all their weapons. And since they have comms, they're letting you know that you're camping the slugged teen, and then they're all just going to gang up you with all their weapons and kill you, advance the sigils, and then spawn you somewhere else. So camping in this game is just basically, to put it in a very dumb way, camping in this game is like, hey, I'm over here standing in this one place, make all the weapons you need and come kill me for free. And it's just like, it just doesn't work unless you're doll master. In that case, your dolls do all the work for you, and you can camp all the everybody you want, and even if they kill the doll and they see you somewhere else, you can just teleport. And man, I hate that character so much. All right, number 9, make sure you're equipping your mutations and perks. I know this one sounds dumb. I know this one sounds silly, but for the first 2 days I played, I skipped over all of my mutations and perks that I was getting, that I was leveling up through the journey. The journeys are the blood webs, except they're more streamlined and not as grindy, which is, the least good part about Dead by Daylight. But I essentially just didn't equip perks and mutations because I was just so overwhelmed with the brand new game and all the stuff that was going on. But I can guarantee you that nearly all of the teens you will be facing will have perks equipped, which will grant them faster vault speed, more health, etc., etc. If you're playing on your own without these perks, you're playing at a huge disadvantage. Now, I will say that VHS does not have the similar issue that Dead by Daylight has, where the perks are so overpoweringly strong that they jarringly change the match one way or the other. For the most part, the perks are fine, but they do matter. They do matter. And if you're playing against a full squad that has all their perks and you have no mutations, no perks equipped, you're going to get slaughtered. You just are going to have a bad time. So arm up. Okay, number 10. Guarding tables is not the same as guarding gens. if you're a DVD killer, you're going to load in and see sigil workstations, and your brain's going to think, oh, I need to defend those the same way I defended gens. That's not entirely correct. Your primary objective is to find a teen quickly, get them down, get that early pressure, and, you know, start out that snowball very, very early in the match. Now, workstations are a great place to find teens immediately in the beginning of the game. However, teens don't lose progress when they leave workstations, and there's no way for you to lower those workstations' progress. So guarding them doesn't really do a whole lot because they can just leave and come back later. All their progress is saved, and you literally don't they don't have to worry about anything. So tying yourself down to one of these workstations ultimately is not going to work well for you, because the one way this is like Dead by Daylight is that wasting time is a surefire way to lose quickly. Similar in the way that teen time is way, way, way faster than monster time. So monster time lost is way, way, way more important than teen time lost. So a good time to actually guard is when the teens have already done a sigil or two. So let's say they did fire and they did shock. So all that's left is the occult and the holy. So you know that in order to win the game, they gotta go do those two. They gotta go do those two. So now would be a good time to go, you know, hang around the workstations, because you know they're going to be rushing over to get those last two sigils because they want to win the game. So you know for a fact that at least someone is going over to one of those two tables because they want to win the game. That's a good time to go patrol the tables and stick to the tables, because you know people are going to be there. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. Even because even if you I think what you're gonna say in your brain to that is like, well, what if they go back to the other ones? Like if they already hit me with fire, they go back to a fire station. All that's gonna do is stun you. They can make four fire weapons if they want. It's not gonna advance the game for them at all. It's just gonna stun you 4 times and then they call it a day. So other than stopping that late game target of sigils that are left, there's really no reason you should be going and guarding the tables for any reason. All right, so there's 10 things I wish I knew before I played Monster in VHS. Hopefully when you get access to the game, you're not going to suck as much as I did in the first week, because, you know, I told you some of the major mistakes that I made, and hopefully you can make better decisions as a result. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you like it down below, down there with the thumbs up situation. If you want to see more of my videos and not have them be hidden by the YouTube algorithm, which sucks, make sure that you do the subscribe-a-roni, the subscribe button down there below. Hit that as well. And I'll see you in the next video. And if I don't, I'll see you when I see you, friends. Bye-bye.